Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our special monthly Rock Your Purpose team call. I'm Eilers-Heffner, Emerald Ambassador. So I have just been really thinking of ways that I can shed some light on just personal growth in general and how we can move forward in our journeys, because that is such a huge portion of then being successful in the business, is just being grateful for where we're at, moving forward, and taking the journey one day at a time. So we've been looking at the 30 days of gratitude this month. That's been a big thing in Rock Your Purpose, and we're encouraging everyone to share to our walls. And, you know, part of being grateful is also learning and looking for those opportunities to grow, right? So we're looking for opportunities and things that we can be grateful for. So now we can also take that same principle and look for ways that we can learn from things that maybe aren't going so well or haven't gone so well for us in the past. And not that we're going to stay there, but it's just kind of a reflection and moving forward. As well as, you know, using our Enneagram types. So we have these Enneagram types, but that is no way defining who we are. Only our Creator defines who we are and what He's made us to be. And it's our job to live that out and to be the best version of who He's created us to be and move forward. And so, you know, we don't want to use an Enneagram number. Well, I'm a 1, and so I'm just too busy and it's too stressful for me to get involved with something that isn't perfect, right? That would be an easy thing for someone to say, but that is not okay. That is not why we have this tool. It's not meant to be an excuse. It's meant to help us move forward in our journey and where we're at, and to be the person that we are created to be, right? And so our goal is to strive for being that healthy number in the Enneagram, for instance, or whatever color personality, or however you want to look at it. Our job is to say, okay, these are things that I am not doing so great, but how can I improve, right? How can we use that self-reflection? And what I wanted to talk about, I've listened to most of this book before. It's sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, and I love that because we don't ever really lose, right? We don't lose. It's an opportunity to learn and to move forward. And so I was looking at one of the chapters in here, and I'm like, there's so many good points, and I just really wanted to share them with you. And the first step of learning is accepting responsibility. That's the chapter I'm going to share with you tonight. So if we do not take responsibility for where we are, then we're giving up control of our life. Like, that doesn't sound pleasant, does it? We don't want to give up control of where we are, where we're supposed to be. And so we really need to accept that full responsibility and move forward from there. So being in the right position, this is like a sports term. And that means that we're in the right position. We can accept the play, we can accept the ball, we can make the play happen. You know, we want to be in the right position. And it's almost impossible to make that play if we're out of position. So if you are out of position enough, you're going to miss enough of the shots, you're going to lose the game potentially. That's typically what would happen in the sports arena. So what we want to do is always be in the right position. And this is no guarantee that we're going to win, but it is going to guarantee that we're going to learn and that we're going to be able to put ourselves in a more favorable light, right? So taking responsibility for our life, our actions, our mistakes, and this just really, really puts us in a place to continue to move on forward. Failing. So this is something that we want to be aware of. So a fail, because I don't want to use the term like as a firm thing, you know, but generally what it is that we're putting ourselves in this potentially painful spot for a minute and learning to take responsibility and then being able to move forward. And then we're going to make the right actions and learn from that and move on to a success journey. So if we avoid that temporary pain, if we avoid that temporary reflection and looking at like, oh, you know, maybe I could have done something better, then we're really missing out on that opportunity to learn and grow. So if we want to respond to the right failure, we can look at it from that failure perspective and move forward, and then it's less likely to happen again. So this is huge, right? If we can take that minute and reflect. And this is in life in general, but also can be applied in our businesses to several different areas. You know, we forget to follow up with somebody or whatever, and then they join somebody else or they join another company. Like, that's the worst right there, right? But what can we do to learn from that so it doesn't happen again? And that is so huge, that we can say, okay, you know what, I said I was going to send a video and I never did. And oh my gosh, so we're going to take that and learn. And this is like huge in life. Like, we make a mistake at work. We make a mistake with how we talk to our kids. We make a mistake with how we talk to our husband or whatever. And we can take that in and go, okay, next time I need to remember this situation and move forward. Let's see. Sorry, I have lots of notes and I don't want to screw them up. So he talks a lot about, in this chapter, in this book, about this guy named Ted Williams. And you guys can research him more. There's a super quick YouTube link. It's like a minute long. And this guy, Ted Williams, all he ever wanted to do was be a radio guy. He wanted to be a radio voice. And so his mom got him a radio when he was little, and he just listened and listened, and he learned how to speak that way, and he learned how to have this great voice. And he ended up just making some really bad choices. Things didn't go so well. And he really fell into this mistake of entitlement. That's what he talks about later in this book. And what happened through that is he lost everything. So he was homeless. He was a drug addict. He had nothing. And so he would stand on a street corner with a sign like, I need money, whatever. And somebody came up to him and said, I'm going to make you work for your dollar. I'm going to make you work. And he said, let's hear this $1 million voice. And this guy has this amazing voice, which I personally find incredible, working in a hospital and working with people that have abused their bodies for years. Like, they are just so unhealthy that all of their tissues and all of their body organs, everything is so affected. But this guy's voice is incredible. And so he ended up getting on Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil sent him to rehab. He dropped out of rehab. He realized his mistake. He went back very humbly to Dr. Phil and said, I'm ready to go back to rehab. And he ended up getting his life together in his 50s. So that is what we don't want to do, right? We don't want to do that. But it's just good that he was able to reflect back and learn. And so he talks about this whole thing with this Ted Williams guy. So you'll have to look him up. But what he talks about too, there's 5 things that can happen when we don't accept responsibility. And so through the chapter, he talks a lot about how Ted Williams was in these specific stuck places. And I'm not going to go into all of that detail, but you can certainly pick up the book pretty easily yourself. So when we don't accept responsibility, we can get into this victim mentality. We can focus on what we don't have instead of focusing on what we do have. So this is why we're doing the 30 days of gratitude, is so we can focus on things that we do have and be so blessed by that, and focusing on these great things that we have with our workers, with our prospects, with the people on our team that are trusting us to help them use their products successfully, and focusing on those positives and not focus on like, well, nobody's joined me yet this month, When we continue to focus on those negative things, then we continue to spiral down that. And the other thing that I found really interesting is he said that Ted Williams did not take responsibility. He did not fully grasp taking control of his life until he learned to be grateful for what he did have. And I tell you what, this guy was down to nothing, like scrounging through Salvation Army drop-off bins to get clothes. Like, he had nothing. And once he learned to be grateful for what he did have, he was able to move forward and take responsibility. So I thought that was pretty cool. And again, just focus on these things that we do have. We all have a thriving business. We all have people that need us, and that is what we need to focus on. Having an unrealistic perspective of how life works. So we always think, like, if I just had this, then life would be better. If I just had that, or if I just had this. But that's really not. It's really not the case. There are people that have all kinds of what appear to be horrible things happening to them over and over again, and it doesn't make any sense. There's other people that just have kind of, we think, an easy breezy time. We never know truly what's going on with everyone, but we never want to think that we deserve something else. We deserve to be grateful for what we have, So another pitfall, now this we've talked about a lot, is comparing ourselves to others, because this just leads to frustration and dissatisfaction. Like, that is so, so true. So, I think that we think, oh my gosh, I've been doing this business for a year and I'm only a silver. Okay, well, look at all the things you've learned in that year. So, and you are a silver, and that's so great. And we're still helping people and we're still learning. We cannot compare our journeys to one another. It took me 3 years to go to Emerald. I wasn't planning on that or expecting that, but you know what? I wouldn't trade my journey for anything, because I've learned a lot, and I know that I've helped the people that God has put before me through that journey. So cannot get stuck in that. The other thing, number 3, would be engaging in blame storming. So this is, we're like, well, the tree jumped out in front of my car and I hit it. I mean, just situations like that where you're just thinking, if this or that, or just blaming every situation. I didn't do my IPA today because my kid threw up. I didn't do my IPA today because my boss was mean to me at work. I didn't do my IPA today because of this. Like, we can blame all these situations, or we can buckle up and say, for 10 minutes, I'm going to focus on some IPA. And guess what? That 10 minutes, because the focus gets off of our bad day, turns into 20 minutes and 30 minutes and 40 minutes of helping others. And that is so rewarding, right? So that is, I think we all know what blame storming is. I think you can all imagine situations where it's easy to fall into that trap. And I encourage you to just stop yourself and get out of it. Okay, number 4, when we give away the choice to control our lives, then we're looking at, when we look at those that are more successful, those are the ones that take personal responsibility and learn from their mistakes, and they keep growing and improving. So that's where we want to be. We want to be where, just like the diamonds say, I've just been told no more times. It doesn't mean that I'm better or I'm this or that. It just means that I've talked to more people and I've heard no more in order to get to this point. And that means that they're accepting that responsibility and that personal growth and taking it for what it's at. So he lists out a whole bunch of things, and I will screenshot this and put it in the thread of the calls chat announcement, because there's a lot and they're so good. And we've talked about this before, and there's been other cool posts around Facebook going around. And a couple of them, like, I choose to give up, no, or I choose to persist. I choose to suffer, or I choose to heal. I choose to fail. I choose to succeed. I choose to extinguish. I choose to ignite. I choose to follow. I choose to lead. I choose to drift, or I choose to commit. So lots of things like that. Those are really good things that we can kind of put on our mirror and just think about and say, yes, like, this is the column I want to be in, right? That positive column. And then number 5, we want to eliminate any possibility of growth for success. Like this is what unsuccessful people do, is that they eliminate any possibility of growth for that success. So again, just embracing that this is a long-term thing. This is a long-term journey. We're not going to change our whole life and our mindset in a day. It's going to take time. So just like starting a new routine at the gym, just like all these other things that we talk about, you start your triplex, it takes some time to kick in and get your body balanced. So all very important, and learning to take that responsibility and take this journey one step at a time is still a long-term process, and we wouldn't want to have it any other way. John C. Maxwell wrote this book, and it, like, not too long ago. It's newer of the books-ish, and he was older. He talks about in here about being almost a senior citizen, and so he still talks about how much he learns and grows every day. So we definitely are going to be on that path for a while, and that's going to continue to give us those tools that we need to help others succeed in the same way we have, or if they've had the same struggle or going through it, then we are only more equipped to help them. So on the flip side, I have 5 things about when we learn to be responsible, when we learn to take this journey into our hands and run with it. So pain is inevitable, but misery is optional. So we're not going to avoid all painful things. We're not going to avoid all failures, but what we take with them, how we take them, what we choose to do with that is what matters. And there's such a dramatic change when you can embrace that concept. So number one, when we take our first step in learning, and so for instance, we're going to have to take that first step. So if you want to have a good reputation, you need to worry about it before you have a reputation. So you're not going to be this successful, like great reputation at 51 if you spend your 20s breaking the law, getting thrown in jail, whatever, you know. So people that really want to have this good reputation, we need to think about ways we can cultivate that now before there ever is an issue of us having a bad reputation, right? Learning from life and learning that we can't control everything, that we can only control what we can control, what we can do, what we can think, and what we can share with others. And we have to let go of what we can't control. You know, I cannot force somebody to watch a video. I cannot force somebody to respond back to me. I cannot force somebody to take their triplex, but I can share with them, and I can love on them, and I can meet them where they're at, and I can help them the best I can, but ultimately it's still their choice and their responsibility. So obviously if they're reaching out to you or you're reaching out to them and they're responding, then yes, it is our responsibility to follow up with them to the best of our ability. But besides from driving over their house and like mixing their pink drink and handing it to them and standing there till they drink it like they're a child, you cannot force them to do it, right? So letting go of what we cannot control, I think we call that bless and release, right? Then we have number two, we all see things in their proper perspective. So don't take yourself too seriously, you know, don't cultivate a negative attitude. That means that you want to be able to see things from a better perspective. Don't let a no ruin your life. Don't let oh my gosh, I didn't rank up when I wanted to. Don't let sorry, I have my notes are so scribbled out. Don't let these things that we could take as oh my gosh, this didn't go as I wanted to. Don't let that ruin your life. If you start going down that track, you have to stop, choose something positive, restart, pivot, move forward. So our best learners see losses as temporary, and that's the other thing. So we get a no from somebody. Well, that's a temporary no. They're still going to come back around. We're still going to love on them, right? You might not rank up this month, but you're going to rank up next month. And so this loss is temporary. It's okay. We're going to still move forward. It's not about this whole huge, like, I have to be this thing by this certain time. It means doing what I can to help my people and to help myself be the leader I need to be in order to move forward. So that is really good. I love that. The best learners don't see losses as permanent. They just see them as temporary. Number three, we stop repeating our failures. So we're all going to hear no's. We're all going to have episodes where someone doesn't respond as positively as we would like, or different situations like that. Or if we're just not getting really a lot of feedback on our messages and stuff. Well, that's our job to say, okay, taking some screenshots here. I'm sending this to my sponsor. I need some help here. Like, what am I saying that could be better? What can I do that's different? You know, reflecting back on it. How would I like to receive a message? What would I like to see come through my messenger to talk about something? You know, and you can tell when somebody is literally like you know, there's the Road and Fields people and all this stuff. You can totally tell when they've just copied and pasted this message about skincare or something, and I'm like, you've not even paid any attention to my wall, have you? I'm posting about Joyum, I'm posting about collagen, and you're just sending me this copy and pasted message. And so I always turn it around. I'm like, oh my gosh, thanks for thinking of me. I love that you're, you know, starting a business. Have you obviously care about your skin? Have you thought about your insides? And would you like to hear about the best, you know, probiotics on the market? And I just turn it around. But realistically, I'm like, seriously, you've not even looked at my wall and you're just sending me a copy and pasted message. So, you know, we don't want to do that. If that's something that you feel you are struggling with, how you're messaging people, then please get with your sponsor. And number four, we're going to grow stronger. So facing our fears, moving forward. You know, some people are afraid of making videos, or they're afraid of doing an in-person sip and see, or they don't necessarily love to talk on the phone. Like, what is it that you think those things are holding you back? What can you do in those things to move forward? How can you overcome that fear? Again, this is where your sponsor comes in to encourage. We're all going to have those mistakes and failures or things that we just don't feel great about. And the important thing is to not stay there. So finally, number 5, we're going to back up our words with our behavior. So this is our ultimate step, is that we want our actions to line up with our words. So I definitely do this with my children. They're asking, can we do this and this and this? And I'm like, okay, hold on. I cannot answer that right now because I don't want to say, yes, we can have a movie and popcorn and da-da-da-da and stay up till midnight. And, you know, that's not realistic, right? But I also don't want to burst their bubble and be like, no, all the time. So it's more finding that opportunity to say, okay, I can't answer this right now. Let me think about it. Let's get through dance. Let's get through dinner. And then we'll talk about the plan for the evening. And if I'm able to talk to them and able to process through things, then I can say, okay, this would be a better thing to do on Wednesday night than Tuesday night, or whatever the case may be. And it helps them be more respectful of the decision. It helps them feel like they're a part of the decision and all of that. And so when you have people that want your attention, you know, maybe you have a big team, maybe you have lots of prospects that you're talking to, we can't just say yes to everyone all at the same time. But in order for them to feel important and empowered, it's okay to say, I'm going to get back with you on Thursday between, 8 and noon, or whatever the case may be. Are you free then? And so we are in control of that schedule. We get to back up our words. We get to help them when it's best for both of us, a mutual thing, not to go out there and kill ourselves and say yes to everybody and then not able to fulfill a goal that just isn't fulfillable, right? And this also is about signing our work. So this is why we have our IPA chat. This is why we have that accountability, is because at the end of the day, we want to be able to sign our signature and say, job well done. I did it. I did what I could do. I talked to my people. I did a great job. Not okay, well, I'm just going to send out some messages. Hey, Susie, how are you? Okay, good job. We want to make our work meaningful. So he also talks, this was really, really good. He talked about an author, Frances Cole Jones. She was talking about how Marines pack each other's they pack a parachute for themselves, but it gets distributed to anyone. And so that way there's you're packing that as if your life depends on it. You're packing this parachute, right? No one wants to be sloppy, because if you get sloppy, then someone could literally die. And then she talked about when the Romans built bridges, they had somebody stand under while they removed the scaffolding to make sure it didn't collapse. And so if you had any doubt in your building ability or something like that, you're not going to want to stand under there when the scaffolding is removed. And so it was really interesting that they made the person who designed the bridge stand under there, like really testing your work. So really working towards making sure that your life depends on it, right? And obviously Plexus is not life or death, but we definitely want to work to the best of our abilities. We want to share with people passionately, because we have something that is so life-changing. We don't want to hold that back from someone. This is, changing people's trajectories of their lives in so many ways, not only in their health, but their finances, their security, their family life, just so many things. And we've seen it over and over again. And if you're having trouble, if you're newer, if you're having trouble seeing that, please get with your sponsor. We want to point you in these great stories to help you have that belief that we all have too. So anyway, this Frances Jones, what she said was, it may sound like a hyperbole when Jones asks if you're taking responsibility for the tasks you perform as if your life depends on it, but it's not really extreme. Why? Because our lives do depend on what we do. This Ted Williams guy, the radio voice guy, he took over 50 years and nearly cost his life to learn that lesson. But the stakes are no less high for you and me. The life that we have is the only life that we get here on earth, and it's not dress rehearsal. Every minute we waste is gone forever. We can either choose to take responsibility for what we do with it or make excuses. I hope, like me, you're choosing to face reality and take responsibility. If you do that, then you will be ready to dig in and focus on improvement, which is the subject of the next chapter. So I just thought that was really cool. Like, obviously, we want to be passionate and life-breathing and empowering to others. And when we look at this opportunity that we have in front of us in that light, it is kind of life or death. You know, there's so many stories that if they weren't shared with what Plexus is, that they would have been in a much graver position today. So anyway, that is what I have for you. We have a couple of minutes to get over to Pink Power. I thank you so much for jumping on. I appreciate it so, so much. And I hope you have a wonderful evening.